Right, we're live. Let's go. Wait for people to trickle in. That's happening. I will. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning into this week's live. Just gonna wait for some people to start trickling in. What's good? Just another day in the life, just another week. Untitled Dreamer, how are you doing today? Let me know in the chat. Awesome. So right now I'm really just prepping for the upcoming week. Got a lot of lectures this week. Because of Labor Day, I guess we have to make up for a lot of stuff. So we have a pretty jam-packed week this week. So I have 4 lectures tomorrow, actually. Usually we have like 2 or 3. So kind of just getting set for that right now, kind of prepping myself for the day. Salted Lamp, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming through. So yeah, so as I was saying, just pretty much prepping for the week, usually around 6 o'clock or evening time, either right before dinner or after dinner. I'll go through my lectures for the week, kind of look through the syllabus or syllabi and kind of break down, all right, what do I need to do? What's coming for the week? What do I need to plan and organize? So kind of just doing that right now. And this week we got a lot of infection and immunity, a lot of lectures on immunology, some biochemistry, some clinical medicine. Right now my block is pretty much focused on immunology and hematology. So that's what we're learning about a lot right now. How you guys doing Sunday night or Sunday afternoon if you're on the West Coast? Do your study methods change depending on the class? If so, how? That's a great question. I'm really adjusting to study methods as I'm going along right now. The first block, it was a lot of kind of just like memorization, understanding what certain definitions mean, certain terms mean. So I was heavily reliant on Anki. Also, I did pretty well on my first exam, so I'll probably be continuing doing Anki and stuff like that. But in certain cases where you're talking about clinical diagnostics, clinical medicine, diagnosing a patient, the steps of understanding a disease. And right now we're going through, for an example, anemias, and there's so many different types of anemias and how they present clinically, what their blood tests look like, and all those different things, and how you kind of fundamentally understand that. I honestly don't think you could use Anki to fundamentally understand it and go through it in a systematic way. So I'm kind of adjusting like I said, every class has a different feel to it. Immunology, um, infectious disease, and stuff like that. Where biochemistry too, where you could kind of just rote memorization and Anki stuff. That's where I kind of use Anki. I'm starting to learn now when you're talking about clinical case vignettes, clinical medicine. That's stuff that I just have to go through and kind of sit with and kind of go through and replay examples in my mind as to how I'm going to navigate and kind of figure out how to diagnose somebody. So that's a good question. And I'm really just figuring it out as I'm going along right now. So I appreciate you for asking that. No problem. Yeah, it's really trial and error right now for me. Um, the processes that I used in the first block worked well because I did well in the exam, but I don't know if it's going to be consistent. I'm trying just to get more efficient as time goes on. If you guys watch my block one kind of exam review, I really kind of just focused on that next step, being more efficient, being more productive. So whether that's using Anki, whether that's not, whether that's just going through certain cases, understanding to a deeper comprehension, to a wider understanding, whatever it is, just kind of getting better at it as I go along. Started using Anki. It's been working great so far. What have you been using Anki for? Like what classes or exams and stuff? Anki is really good. I like it. I personally make my own cards right now. I use some pre-made stuff. There's some pre-made decks for related to my school's anatomy and stuff like that. But it definitely is helpful. Going through the spatial repetition is really good. It's something that you have to constantly stay on top of, so it can kind of get annoying. But overall, I think that it's a useful tool as long as you're on top of it and you do it right. Human anatomy, yeah, it's really good for stuff like that. And I think that human anatomy, a lot of memorization type stuff is huge. There's a lot of memorization that we need to do. So I use an Anki along with Grant's Atlas. Smart. How long does it take me to go through Anki? It depends. It depends on the day. It depends on what I'm doing. So right now, my current schedule, if it's a lecture day, I'll just do what I usually do is I'll watch. It depends on how I'm feeling, but usually I'll watch the lecture, maybe like 1.5, 2 times speed, take some notes as I'm watching it, really trying to absorb the content. I've noticed when I do it that way and I don't do Anki while I do watch the lectures and constantly pausing it and doing stuff like that, I've noticed that I'm able to retain a lot of the information a little bit better. I'm able to take more thorough notes. So I've been trying to do it that way so far, and so far it's been good. And then after the lecture, I'll take maybe like 20, 30 minutes, kind of go through everything again and just make Anki cards. Like I said, I make up my own Anki cards, so I'll make them in question format based on my current understanding, things that I might need refreshing on in the future, things I foresee myself needing, refreshing on in the future. So depending on how many cards I have per lecture, let's say I end the day with like 60, 70 cards based on 3 or 4 lectures that day, I'll probably it will take me a while to go through and learn them the first time. As far as reviews, it takes shorter times, obviously, because you've already gone through and seen them one time. So the reviews, I don't know my speed, but it could take an hour or 2 hours depending on how many I have. If I'm learning, it's definitely going to take me a pretty long time depending on how many cards as well. That's a good question. It definitely varies though. It's tough to say like it always takes me this long or always takes me this long. Anki is one of those things where I kind of just do it until I'm finished and then sometimes take a break and do something else and then come back to it. Using Anki for other classes like biochem, genetics, and orgo, quite different from anatomy. Any tips? Yeah, it's tough. I didn't personally use. If you're referring to undergrad, I didn't use Anki cards for undergrad, and I used a lot of the traditional study methods, which allowed me to get the grades that I wanted, but probably not in the most effective way. I would say if you're going to use them for any class, certain things, yes, you need rote memorization. So it's important to kind of have those Anki cards. That, let's say you're forgetting something pretty often, make an Anki card for that. Let's say that it's on the tip of your tongue, but you can't remember. Maybe even just making an Anki card for it can help you remember it in the future. So that's my tip. If you have anything that kind of you feel that you may be on the tip of your tongue, that's usually what I do. If it's on the tip of my tongue, I can't remember it, it's in the back of my head, I'll just make an Anki card on it so I can review it and remember it for the future. Anything that's high yield topics, conceptual, big picture stuff, make an Anki card for that. That's what I would recommend for those bio, genetics, and orgo. Orgo is a lot of just like conceptual, step-by-step stuff. So it's hard to make an Anki card that says, if this happens, what's the product, or what's the product of these reactions. You may be able to do that, but you may be losing, you may just be memorizing different pieces and not being able to put it together. So it's important to, sorry, there's a bus going by. It's important to understand the big picture first. That's one thing that I made a mistake on the first time when I was doing Anki. I was learning from my Anki cards versus understanding the big picture first, and then going through and reviewing my Anki. So understanding the big picture for sure first, and then making Anki cards based on that conceptual understanding, especially with orgo and things like that, genetics too, and biochem. Ratio of time spent on school mandated materials. What's up, Anonymous, my boy? What's the ratio of time spent on school mandated materials, lecture, homework, projects, and outside resources you use yourself to learn? That's a good point. So I've seen a lot of different people because YouTube is so popular right now, and I see so many people on YouTube that are med students. The answer you get to this question will be very varying. For me, I like to utilize my class lectures because I trust the curriculum that's in place here at my school. And I feel that what they teach us is going to give me a good fundamental understanding of what I need to know when I need to know it. So right now I may not need to know something. The way that my curriculum is set up, it's an organ system. So we kind of dive deep based on every organ system, and everything kind of ties together as you go through. So let's say you're using outside resources, talking about what I'm talking about now, like hematology. They may be going into deeper levels into certain organ systems or certain things that you haven't seen yet, and it could get you confused. It could get you jumbled up. So what I would say for me is right now I spend probably, I'd probably say 65%, 65 to 70% focus on my lectures and all that stuff that they're giving me, because I honestly trust it. And that's what we're getting tested on. As far as outside resources and stuff like that, I use the remaining 30 to 35% on outside resources, kind of fill in my gaps and kind of help me make it through. I don't use pre-made Anki card decks, so I make everything myself. So they're all based on my lecture content or things that I use on outside resources. Outside resources I use are like Boards and Beyond, Pathoma, different textbooks and stuff like that. Most of it though is on the school mandated stuff, because it really kind of sets me up to be successful in the curriculum and in the system I'm currently in. So sometimes you have to kind of play that game to get ahead. So I trust the system. It's a tough question to answer, because you want to be on top of everything. You want to know everything, but sometimes learning things out of context just doesn't help it stick. It doesn't help it actually marinate into good clinical practice. I think it just ends up being memorizing words and memorizing random facts versus understanding for clinical benefit. What's up, King Zeph? Welcome to the stream, my boy. Is the speed of undergrad summer courses similar to the speed that med school teaches? No. To answer that very nicely, I guess I could say no. Len, I actually took some. So I took the one and only time I took summer courses was, it wasn't science courses. So it's hard to say because I didn't take science courses in summer. I took Spanish, I took calculus, and I took like English writing courses. So I didn't take heavy science courses in the summer or winter breaks, but essentially the analogy I've had is a semester of college. You could think about a semester of college as like a 5-inch binder of material. You're essentially given a 5-inch binder of material every week that you have to know for medical school. It's just so much. The content is very dense, it's very heavy, and you're not just learning it from one perspective. You learn it from the science, you have to learn it from the clinical aspect, you have to learn it from the pathology and the histology aspect. So if you see a blood smear for for hematology, or if you're seeing like cells or epithelium for, let's say, inflammation or something like that, anatomy, you have to learn it from that angle. So you're learning it from so many different angles at a high volume. So that's what makes it tough. And that's why they say, drinking water out of a fire hydrant. But I would say college courses are a little bit more digestible, just because you're able to learn in a very unilateral fashion versus in a one-dimensional fashion, versus in medical school, you're learning from all these different fashions, and it's like super deep. So, but you learn and you get used to it. Yeah, studying the textbooks and lectures for big picture stuff, super important. I'm not a textbook guy, so I can't really vouch for textbooks. I kind of try to use them as a reference and a source if I need to. Most of the times, I won't even waste my time going into a textbook. I'll just like Google it and usually find the answer from a reliable resource or a reliable website or a journal article. But yeah, textbooks can be great if you want to get that fundamental understanding before you even start. What's the most difficult thing? What's up, Tom? What's the most difficult thing to get accustomed to for first year students? I think the volume of content, understanding that you have to essentially work hard every single day, or else you'll fall behind. And if you fall behind, you're gonna be playing catch up for a very, very long time. The stuff never stops. On the weekends, you could either play catch up or prep for the next week. And if you're playing too much catch up, then you're just going to be too far behind. And it just snowballs very, very fast. So I think a lot of people are getting used to that daily grind. Luckily for me, I feel like it's something that I'm more accustomed to, because I just came off a gap year. So I'm used to working every day, and I'm used to getting up at a certain time and putting in the work. And then, that's the end of the day. But a lot of people that may have just come from college or may not be used to it, I think that's what a lot of people are saying, just the sheer volume. But there's also a lot of like comparison stuff that you have to get used to. Not You want to compare yourself constantly to your peers. You want to be at the top of your class. You want to be competitive, because you're ultimately thinking about residency. You're ultimately thinking about getting into a good job at the end of the career, at the end of your medical school career. So you're always thinking about trying to level up and measure up to other people. But it's important to just focus on yourself. A lot of people will tell you that too. It's a great question though. What am I doing for food? Cook a lot, take out. Do you even have time to cook while in medical school? Yeah, I'm actually. What's up, DC? So I'm very fortunate. I live with my girlfriend, and she does a lot of like helpful stuff around the house to really make everything super easy for me. A lot of times she'll spend Sundays like cooking or prepping meals for herself. So I kind of get that like secondhand food source from her. So a lot of times, she does a really good job of like taking care of that kind of stuff and helping me out. When I'm eating during the day, it's usually just like quick stuff or like leftovers, or I'll just make like a quick sandwich or a burger or something. You definitely have time to cook, but you have to be very proactive with it. So a lot of the times the cooking is done on the weekends, and then during the week, I'll just like pick at stuff and have leftovers, or get stuff that's really quick to make. I don't like to eat out that much because I don't really have the money to, like I wish I had, but you could definitely make it work, but it's easy to fall into those bad habits if you don't, if you're not proactive about it. What's up, Jay? In your opinion, how do you best prepare for medical school interviews? Just finished all my secondaries and want to get ahead. First thing you can do is go check out my videos. I made videos on traditional interviews, MMI, and then I just put out a video today on Zoom interviews. The best way to prepare, I'd say, is first you want to understand what your theme is, what your application is. Since you just did secondaries, you probably have a good idea of what that is. And in that case, you want to get ahead by now going back and studying that idea, studying what the type of person you are, and just being self-aware of your goals in medicine, your current vision of how you see things based on your experiences, and then just trust in yourself. I think doing practice scenarios, thinking out loud, meeting up with a mentor or somebody else in the process, and kind of going back and forth with one another, talking it out. I think that is the best way to practice. I think practicing, a lot of the times we have the ideas in our head, but the issue is articulating it in a good fashion, articulating it in a way that's well received and shows that we are not only intelligent, but have personality. So sometimes we study too much, or sometimes when we rehearse our answers too much, it comes off robotic. It doesn't come off natural. But the first thing you have to do is, if you're well aware and self-aware of your themes and what your goals are, what your experiences are, you're very knowledgeable on the things that you've you've encountered throughout your pre-med years. If you're well aware of that and you can talk well about it, then you're pretty much mostly set. You're going to get scenario-based questions. You're going to get things that they throw you a loop, that'll throw you off. But if you're composed, if you're somebody that's practiced it, you will be able to kind of adjust on the fly. That's pretty much the best advice I could give you. As you do more interviews, you get better. And the first interview you do, if you get multiple medical school interviews, take advantage of them. The first interview you do, you're not going to necessarily know the questions that you want to ask. You're not going to really know what you're looking for in a medical school. But as you do more and as you experience more, you'll know exactly what you're looking for. You'll know exactly what medical schools are looking for, and you'll get better with time. So the best thing you can do is just practice. Once you get into that first game, take advantage of it, soak it all in, and then move forward from there and then keep improving. No problem. How many schools should you apply to? I have a few dream schools and a couple of long shots. Yeah, you should apply to as many schools so if you're applying to medical school, right? It's not really about, I've heard stories of people that applied to like 8 schools. I've heard people that applied to 38 schools, 48 schools. It's not about the amount of schools you apply to. I think it's more about finding the schools that best fit you, and understanding that you want to find the school that best fits your personality, best fits your mission, and will mold you into the best school possible, or the best student and best physician possible. So a lot of people take a lot of desperation and they'll just go to whatever school accepts them. And that's an important thing to be aware of. You want to get into medical school. You want to be a doctor at the end of the day, but it's also important to have some level of integrity when it comes to choosing your school. And if you are at a school that you feel, or if you get accepted to a school and you feel like they're not necessarily going to make you the best student possible, or you might not be the happiest there, then that's probably not where you want to be. Medical school is not going anywhere. You're always going to be here. It's always going to be there. So you just want to trust in your journey, find the schools that fit your mission, apply to those schools, but also apply, broadly. Don't be very stringent. Don't just apply to the top schools. Have a widespread idea of what you want and what you're looking for in a school. Apply broadly, and then you're gonna land exactly where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be in that spot. I think if you have a few dream schools, I feel like if you have a lot of long shots, look at your list. If your list is 50% long shots, then you might want to readjust your list a little bit. But if you're in a situation where yeah, I have some schools that are long shots, maybe a handful, maybe 6 or 7, but I'm applying to 20 schools, then so be it. That's probably a great place to be. I've seen a lot of times, though, people get hung up on certain schools, people get hung up on certain types of schools, their dream school. I personally went into this application cycle. I had an idea of the schools I liked and schools I didn't like, quote unquote dream schools, but it wasn't until I actually went to a lot of the schools that I realized that that whole idea of dream schools, the whole idea of rankings, it doesn't really add up unless you've actually experienced it for yourself. If you've had a dream school that you've gone to, you've done research there, you've talked to students there, and you know that's going to be a good fit, then by all means, it might be your dream school. But if you've not experienced that and you just are saying something's your dream school based off of something you read on the internet or just the fact that it looks really cool, it's important to just be level and even keel and just be like, I don't know if a school there's a lot of times, this is a side, I went on 10 interviews, and a lot of the interviews I went on, if I had a preconceptions, I would have been, in the negative before I even started that interview. But the fact that I went in neutral allowed me to really see the school and appreciate the school for what it's worth. So I would say that as well when applying to schools, just have a neutral mindset. Yes, definitely make sure you drop a like. What undergrad courses do you think are most useful for med school? It depends. It depends on who you are. It depends on what your missions are. For me, I think that being a science major, being a biology major, neuroscience really helped me right now because I understand a lot of the fundamental science. I understand a lot of the conceptual stuff when it comes to biochemistry, when it comes to biology, organic chemistry. It really cemented my knowledge. But at the end of the day, if you made it to medical school, that means you took the MCAT, and then if you took the MCAT and you did well in the MCAT, that means you understand those fundamental stuff. So whether or not your understanding is just good enough to do well in the exam, or whether it's super deep, I think that for me at least, taking those biology classes and those upper division science courses really set me up for success. Not saying that you can't be like a psychology major or an English major or whatever major you want and be successful. It all depends on what your goals are and what your visions are. One thing I definitely do think is super helpful: if you could take an anatomy course, if you could take a physiology course, go for it. Even if it's just something in the summer, even if it's something on your own time, do it, because you won't regret it. Because coming into medical school now, a lot of my classmates haven't taken anatomy, they haven't taken physiology, and when we get hit with crazy amount of anatomy and they don't really have time to teach us the fundamentals of like what a tuberosity is, what a tubercle is, what a condyloid is, like little articular things like that, make a huge difference. It saves you a lot of time. And I did well in my anatomy practical, I think, because I had a lot of the fundamental stuff already down packed. What impact in the medical field do you strive to achieve once you finish med school and start working? King Zeph, that is a deep question. That is a deep question. I appreciate your question. Let me think about that for a second. I think that the answer to that question changes every single month for me. I have an overarching passion for, I think I have an overarching passion for just changing the game, being a game changer in whatever sense that may be. I don't know what direction that'll be. It depends on the field of medicine I'm going into. I'm interested in surgery. But at the end of the day, you could be very, very good at what you do. You could be very, very good at your job. But how can you make impact? I think that's something that I'm still trying to figure out. I think impact is made beyond what you do when you're actually with the patients. I think it goes, beyond that. I think it goes when you talk about the community, when you talk about getting involved with others, when you talk about, touching people, making change, even little things like insurance, little things like paying for medicine and providing affordable care. There's so many different things that you could attack. So for me, there's so many different passions that I have and things that I am passionate about. I'm passionate about service and passionate about the community and things that I want to change. So it's a deep and heavy loaded question. that deserves a very thought out answer. But overall, I definitely want to be somebody that kind of pushes medicine forward, always kind of leaves a stamp on medicine, and always strives, kind of to be the best I could be, the best physician. And when people leave my office, they don't just feel that they are in good clinical and, I guess, medical care, but also they feel like they've been treated like a human being and treated like a person, and that they feel like the person that's taking care of them and the people that are taking care of them are have their best interests in mind. Follow up: what non-science undergrad courses did you find useful? Any out of the box ones that I think for good future doctors writing in English? Yeah, let me think about that. Non-science undergrad courses. Um, that's a great question. I don't think there's specific courses that led me to like a competitive advantage, for an example. But I definitely think that there's certain courses just in maybe sociology, maybe psychology that are very, very important. I don't think that those are considered science courses. The science is just biology, chemistry, mathematics, and physics. But courses like that, huge. It allows you to understand how to talk to people, how to deal with people. Certain communications courses can do the same thing. Understanding how to talk, how to understand how to empathize, really goes a long way as far as competitive advantage, I think. But other courses, I think non-science courses should really be to craft the type of person that you are, craft the interest that you have. So for me, I took different courses that did that. I took courses in like certain engineering courses. I took courses in like audio systems. I took courses in film, like intro to film and different things like that, that just really allowed me to have a balanced schedule. So I think I don't think non-science courses should be used for competitive advantage. I think that they should really be used for your interest. So if you're interested in women's health, take some women's health courses. If you're interested in film, take film courses. If you're interested in writing, take writing courses. I do think that writing is very, very important especially if you're going, but there's a difference between writing and there's a difference between scientific writing. Huge difference. But if you're good at writing in general, it may help you as far as, publishing papers and different things like that. Have you, since starting med school, felt a sense of high competition? I don't think so. The way that my medical school right now has set it up, a lot of this stuff is based on pass fail, and a lot of stuff is group work. So a lot of people are willing to share their resources. A lot of people are willing to share their ideas and notes, which is awesome. So the competitive level is super, super low. But I was actually recently talking to somebody today, and we were kind of talking about the fact that things are pass fail in the first 2 years. The second 2 years is really when you separate yourself from others, and that's probably when it's going to start getting dog eat dog, a little bit more competitive. But right now, I don't think it's really high competitiveness. I think it's really everybody just focusing on their personal goals. Everybody's focused on their mission, and we work together to try to pick each other up, because that's honestly what medicine's about. Helping each other, being there for others, and collaborating to ultimately treat the patient the best way possible. Cheyenne, how are you? Do you do as many group activities in med school as you did in undergrad for classes? I guess it depends on the medical school. With undergrad classes, I think that for me, I went to a school that had large lectures, so we didn't really do group activities unless we were doing like a recitation or we were doing a laboratory group. In medical school, we do a lot of group stuff. I think they really want to push collaboration. They really want to push us to be team oriented and push teamwork. So a lot of the stuff we do is team based. Unless we're just studying and doing lectures on our own or going to lecture on our own, everything is pretty much in a group. Every lab that we do, they put us in groups. We have case-based learning groups, a group of 10 of us that switch and every other block. in order to kind of give us a fresh group, give us fresh people to work with. And that's people that we see, regularly twice a week. We have clinical skills small groups. We have clinical skills groups. We have a lot of groups. And these are people that you are going to continuously see and continuously work with. So you build a relationship with them, you build a bond with them. But they definitely force a lot of group work for good reason, because groups and working in groups helps you, be better for sure. It's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Anonymous again, how often is volunteer work brought up in medical school interviews? What volunteer work did you do during undergrad? Yeah, so it depends on the interview. I'd say for a lot of people, it really depends. Sometimes they'll just go through an interview. Sometimes they'll just go through your activities and say, "Oh, I saw you did this. I saw you did this. This really stood out to me. Can you talk more about it?" And other times they'll just give you scenarios and say, "What's the time where you experienced this, or what's the time that you experienced that?" And in those cases, you'll need to, pull from your different volunteer activities, pull from these different things. So it depends on the interview. I think that they definitely brought them up a decent amount for me. Some of the stuff that I did was kind of unique, so they kind of came up for me. So some of the things that I did, I actually started a charity basketball tournament during my undergrad. That's something that we've been doing for the past few years. Huge thing for me because it was something that I was able to create with a close friend of mine, and our team in general continue to create and grow. So that was huge. I volunteered with this program called Fit Kids for Life, which was geared at helping kids with cardiovascular disease or at risk for cardiovascular diseases and obesity, help them understand fitness and exercise. So we worked out with them twice a week, and we went through nutritional lessons with them as well. That's something that I fell in love with and I love to do. I did research work as a volunteer thing, but that's more on the research side. I did some volunteer things with like pre-med society. So we had a mandatory outreach when I was just a general body member. We had to do outreach events to become an active member. So I'm doing just little things like that here and there, getting involved with the community, whether that's like a Crohn's and colitis walk, going to local farms, doing different fundraisers like that, doing volunteer work I did as a college athlete as well, reading to preschool kids, cleaning up yards around the neighborhood. We raked leaves, we helped out at different athletic events. So a lot of different things. And I'm really grateful for them because they helped me, kind of mold my perspective of the world. So those are some things that I would highly recommend doing. Highly get involved in your community, because getting involved in your community will help you become a better doctor, because I personally feel that you're now able to understand the people that you're serving. So great question. Outside of education itself, which I assume is pretty awesome, what's your favorite part of medical school? I think my favorite part so far, outside of the education, my favorite part about the education is just being able to understand that eventually one day, when all this stuff compiles and adds up, I'll be able to make a diagnosis and help somebody and change somebody's healthcare. So that is, for me, the best and most gratifying part. But outside of that, the best part about medical school is just being able to finally, for me, kind of learn on your own terms. You're learning as an adult now when you're in medical school. A lot of the stuff is on you. And I like that freedom. I didn't really like an undergrad, even in high school, being told this is what you have to do. Here's your homework. You have to get it done. Because I'm an independent person, because I'm pretty self-driven and self-motivated, I like being able to live on my own terms. And the fact that everything's pass fail, I don't have to like cram and study super. I mean, you're studying a ridiculous amount of hours a week, but you're not stressed out. For me personally, not stressed out to the point where you have to worry about getting like an A on the exam so that you could get into medical school. The hard part is already done, personally, I think. And you're just focused on how can I absorb this material the best way possible in order to be a good clinician in the future. But I think the best part that The best part that I haven't really experienced yet, I've experienced it to a slight degree, but because of COVID and everything like that, I haven't really been able to experience it. But the best part is probably the connections and the people I'm going to meet and the relationships I'm going to build over this next 4 years. Just already, just being able to, even with my small group, that's the group that my case-based learning group is the group that I've been really more intimate with, just because we see each other twice a week in person and we collaborate a lot during the week. So that's a group that I've really been able to learn more about them and meet them to a deeper extent versus just like being on Zoom with people for different lectures and stuff like that. So that is probably the best part, and I know I'm going to nurture a lot of those relationships as I go forward. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to, and it's unfortunate right now with COVID that stuff is put on the back burner. And right now it's just all school stuff, and you can't really appreciate the relationships that you're going to build. I think that's a great practice. Teamwork early in med school to prepare for clinical experience. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That's something that's greatly emphasized. And if you're writing your personal statement, if you're applying to medical school, emphasize that teamwork, because that will help you stand out. And that's what schools want to know. Hello. I wanted to know if you chose which interviews to go to and how you made those choices. So for me, there was 4 interviews that I didn't choose to go to. I had 14 interviews total, and I went on 10. I chose not to go to the 4 that I didn't go to because of just personal reasons. Like one of them was like in Philadelphia, and I already had an interview at the school I'm going to now. And I told myself, if there's one school, if I'm going to be in Philly to go to a school, it's going to be this school that I'm interviewing at. So I kind of turned down their interview invite. There was other schools that I kind of just got later in the cycle interview invites that I had already had multiple medical school acceptances that I would want to go to over those schools at that time. So it was just a personal decision for me, choosing not to attend those 4 interviews. So that's really how I decided to choose which ones to go to. Early on in the cycle, I was going to interview because for me, I had that mindset. We kind of talked about this earlier, but I had the mindset of you never know what a school is going to impress you with. You never know when you actually go there and you're sitting and talking to the students, you're seeing the students that you're interviewing with. You never know how amazing your experience might be based on your interview. There was a lot of schools, probably 50% of the schools that I interviewed at, I was impressed with by the time I left, and more impressed than I went in thinking. So it's really, you have to keep an open mind when you choose to go to those interviews, but understand at the same time, like they want you as much as you want to go to them. So value yourself. And if you don't feel like, a place is going to be fitting for you, don't go to the interview. But I always say, give it the college try and give it your best bet and go in with an open mind, because you never know what you can expect on those interviews. You never know what you're going to see that might change your mind and influence you. And the same thing with schools that you think you might love. I know people that thought they might love a school. They went on to interview there and absolutely hated it. So just keep an open mind and be willing to adjust your thought processes along the way. That's a good question, though. If you guys are in the chat right now, let me know what stage you guys are in the process. If you're a medical student, if you're pre-med, what year are you, when you're looking to apply? I'm interested to hear where you guys are in the process. Yes, interview season is among us. I hope you watched my videos. I hope you got something out of it. I really tried to make them to the best of my ability to kind of give an idea of what interviews are like. It's super hard this year is going to be super hard to kind of understand what interviews are really like as long as they're virtual. But I hope hope that they're worthwhile for people, and I hope that it's a good experience still. Never is going to be as good as if you actually go there, but I hope it's still a good experience. Yeah, virtual interviews hopefully aren't too bad. I really hope that um, they're advantageous to a lot of students, that allow them to kind of be in their comfort zone a little bit more, because you're in your house. I know there's a downside of not being able to go and talk to actual people there, but I hope it's advantageous for a lot of people financially, and as far as experience and doing the best that they can. I'm actually looking to be an interviewer, a student interviewer at my school. So I'm actually really, really excited to go through that process and kind of meet medical students or pre-med students that are applying, and kind of be on the other side of things for the first time. Fourth year, planning on applying summer 2021. Then we'd be taking a gap year. Awesome. Do you have any plans for what you're planning to do over the gap year? I think gap years are the wave. I think they're the way to go. Just gives you a time away from everything, gives you time to step back. If you're working in a clinical setting, you can learn a lot more about medicine in that way than you can in any other way. I think that's one of the most beneficial things that I did. Working in a doctor's office was huge. Part-time work as a scribe, some kind of research. Yeah, scribe life is huge. I didn't scribe myself, but knowing the responsibilities of a scribe and what it is, you're pretty much the closest you could possibly be to a doctor. You're right there. You're seeing everything, so it allows you to really get an inside look of what medicine is. Nice. Some kind of research. What kind of research are you into? Shadowing is huge too. For me, shadowing is one of those love-hate things. I think shadowing is super important, but I also think that at the same time, if you don't know the right questions to ask, if you don't know what you're supposed to be looking for, it can be one of those things where you don't get out as much as you want. So it depends on the mentor, it depends on who you talk to. It depends on, the person that you're shadowing under. But shadowing is one of those things that can definitely be beneficial if you're with the right mentor. Done scribing in the ER a couple of semesters ago. Absolutely loved it. Yeah. I know a lot of people that have had scribing experience and just love it. Some people don't like it. Some people like it. But it's important to kind of look at those experiences and see what you can take out of it, especially when you're coming towards applying to medical school. Understanding what you can take away from your scribing experience, being so close to a physician, seeing what their life is on the daily. There's a lot you can take away from being a scribe. Clinical lab, but who knows how open they'll be nowadays. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Right now, it's very tough for a lot of students that are trying to get these different experiences in different labs like that, because with COVID and everything going on right now, it's super limited. Even for us, we're not even able to shadow right now, and that's something that a lot of people probably were looking forward to. We're not able to shadow because it's kind of reserved. The capacity is kind of reserved for the third and fourth years, and in residents, obviously, and people like that. So it's unfortunate right now. Your clinical experience can kind of be deprived, but I know there's a lot of people that are out there that are still putting that work in. So don't just think that just because it's COVID or what's going on right now, you can't take advantage. Any tips though for how to approach research labs? I would just keep approaching it the same way as if COVID wasn't happening. I'm sure there's plenty of labs that have precautions that are arranged right now. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of labs that have the opportunity to get involved still. So I would still reach out in the same fashion that you would before, whether that's reaching out to multiple people, or if you have a connection, or if you have somebody that could give you a reference, continue to reach out. and understand that they may say no because of the circumstances, but just keep pushing, just keep trying for it. You never know what the circumstances may be. You never know what the opportunities may be. There may be a lot of also look out for different kind of, it depends on what the research you want to do. If you want to do full-time research, there's plenty of different programs. There's definitely plenty of different jobs you could apply to, but just apply to them early. Like start applying in like February, January, February, start looking into them March. So you could get in early. So you could do that kind of like that 1 year, June to June or July to July type of job. So I would definitely try to get in there early because you want to beat this cycle. That's a good question. All right, so we're running down like 10 more minutes. Gonna be on live for 10 more minutes. So if you're in the live right now, if you have any questions or if you have any concerns or if you just want to say hello, feel free. Got a busy week coming up. We got a lot of infection and immunity lectures, some pharmacology lectures, some biochem. For those of you guys that missed it, we're doing right now in this block, we're doing a lot of hematology and immunology. So not really my comfort zone. I'm more of a physiology guy in general. So I'm really looking forward to getting into the cardiac block next cycle and kind of looking into organ systems. But I'm growing in appreciation for everything, and I think that that's the mindset I need to kind of trick myself into, where it's like you have to appreciate every little thing because every little thing could potentially help you in the future to be a better doctor. So just embracing it all, trying to appreciate it all. Yeah, I definitely would get started. Be positive. Don't count yourself out because you never know what's out there. Just shameless plug. I have a YouTube, Chasing MD in Color, geared towards medicine as well. Constantly posting during this year's app cycle, and I would love your support. Let me check it out. I might have already seen it. So for those of you guys that don't know, which is probably all of you, I don't really like to follow a lot of medical school accounts just because I do not like comparing myself to others. So I find it a lot of times that like when I'm seeing all their success on YouTube and how their views are going, it just can be super discouraging and like a mental game. So I try to limit myself to the amount of people that I support, but I will definitely support you. I just hit that subscribe. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Is it? I don't even want to try. Mamie. I want to say Mamie is how you say it, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Do that like pronunciation in the chat. I'll definitely check out some videos. Mommy. Okay. Is that Ma or May? Mommy. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I'll definitely check out your no, or you're gonna have to put it in simpler terms so I understand. Mame. Ah, I see. I see. Mame. I'm not good with certain names that I'm not familiar with. I'm sorry. But yeah, I definitely subscribed. I'm going to check out your videos. It looks like you have really good thumbnails. So that's like one of the key things of getting noticed. And it looks like you're getting a good amount of success. So congratulations. And I'm looking forward to checking your videos out. And I hope that you have a very successful application cycle. What are your plans for this week? Dude, I'm just studying all week. Pretty much that's it. We have, so my schedule is pretty much every day. So we have quizzes at the end of every week. So we kind of gear up for the quiz, and how you do on the quiz can kind of tell you how you did that week in a way. So I have 4 lectures tomorrow. Most of them are pre-recorded, so I could even actually I might start them, a couple of them tonight, so I don't have to like wake up super early. Or I could get my day started early and make time for other things tomorrow. So tomorrow I have 4 lectures, and then I have clinical skills. So we're doing clinical exam on lymph nodes, spleen, and just ears, nose, and throat. Then I have my clinical skill, or my small group case-based learning on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then I have another day of lectures on Wednesdays. We only have a couple of lectures on Wednesday. I actually have I'm looking forward to an interesting lecture on Thursday about racism and microaggressions. So I'm looking forward to kind of what they're presenting there, and what they're kind of going to be talking about as far as racism. I know that that's something my school has put a lot of effort into, especially with everything that's been going on as of lately with social injustices. So I'm looking forward to that racism conversation. Then Friday we have just some. It's pretty loud. Sorry. There's a lot of bikes here, motorcycles. But basically, and then Friday we have clinical medicine. So clinical medicine is pretty much like they go through cases, or they'll go through clinical examples of what you should be looking forward to as far as how cases present, and kind of give us practice with understanding and diagnosing patients, or what we should be thinking about when we're looking to diagnose a patient. So yeah, that's my week. I actually have 2 club meetings this week. So I'm interested in surgery. So I'm actually going to be tuning into a Zoom meeting tomorrow night for the Surgery Society. And Tuesday night, I have one for orthopedic society. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm getting involved in some extracurricular stuff outside. I'm fishing my hand, and fishing and casting my net for different research opportunities, and looking into that right now too. I'm trying not to spread myself too thin, but going to keep working. Just trying to be most efficient as possible with my studies, and then get involved with other things. William, welcome to the stream. Thank you for your question. Does SKMC have the first free student-run clinic in Philly and the nation? Jeff Hope. I believe so. I believe Jeff Hope is. They definitely boast about that. They definitely boast about having the first student-run clinic, and then everybody else copied them. Jefferson is also like one of the first medical schools in the country, like to be developed. It's very, very old in a way, if that's the best way to say it. It's very historical. So they have the first student-run clinic, Jeff Hope. Right now, I don't think that we have access to volunteer there. I'm not 100% sure, but that's something that definitely drew me here, and something I'm looking forward to getting involved with. I'm not sure when I will get involved with Jeff Hope. I want to get involved as early as possible. I want to get involved in student-run clinics as early as possible. But it's also tough because they don't give you as much responsibility as a first year, because you don't really know anything. So maybe in my later years, when I'm actually able to give actual help and do things other than paperwork, I'll probably dive deeper into different clinics and stuff like that, to where I could really refine my clinical skills, and be a help to patients in that way. But never say never. I'm just really open to any opportunity that I have, as soon as we're able to kind of get our hands dirty, barring COVID-19. Good plan. Also, best of luck with studying and surgery. Thank you. I'm going to need it. It's a long, long journey, but I think it's what I want to do, and I think that as long as you work hard enough, you can get there. Couldn't find anything online on that. I look forward to hearing your reflections when you start that. Yeah, that's strange. If you look in Jeff Hope, or you look into SKMC a little bit, I think that you could find some good information on Jeff Hope. I don't know if they just made it available to. I'm pretty sure you could find information because I knew information about Jeff Hope a little bit before I came to interview. So check out their website and look into Jeff Hope a little bit more because I think it's something that they definitely brag a lot about. Quick question: when do you normally wake up? My sleep schedule is totally whack, and asynchronous classes don't really inspire me to wake up early. Yeah, I feel that, especially when you're in situations where you're doing classes online and a lot of the times where you don't really feel motivated to wake up at a certain time, or let's say something is pre-recorded. For me, it was kind of like that in undergrad too, but I try to still keep myself to a schedule. Right now, I'll start my day anywhere between like 7 and 8 a.m. So that means I'm waking up anywhere between like 6:30 and 7:30 a.m. I try to wake up at that time every single day, no matter what, just because it gives me a consistent schedule. And I like starting my day early, a little bit early. It's not, I'm not doing anything where I'm waking up at 5 a.m., at least not right now. But I like to start my day reasonably early so I can get a jump start, especially because I make my own Anki cards and I like to spend my time with the lectures and spend the time with the content and material. So I like to get a nice jump start to the day and bang out those things early in the day so I could have the later part of my day to do the things that I want and do like review and do more studying. So I highly recommend trying to get up every day, regardless of what your schedule looks like for that day. Try to fill your schedule with things that you like to do. It's easier for me to say that because I have a lot of stuff to do. So if you have less stuff to do, there's no real reason to get up early if you're just going to be sitting around. But find stuff to do and fill your schedule, and it'll keep you motivated. I always find that putting things that motivate me in the beginning of the day, whether that's a workout or whether that's just an activity that I like to do or a school related thing that is more motivating to me, putting in the beginning of the day helps me kind of get started, regardless of my sleep schedule. But I try to get like 7 to 8 hours if I can of sleep, depending on how busy I am. During my testing week, I probably got like 6 to 7 though. All great questions. Thank you guys. If there's not any last questions, feel free to ask one last question. I'll probably answer it, and then I got to get going. I'm probably gonna start. I got to finish up a lecture that I was in the middle of watching from Friday. I got to finish up that lecture, and then I'll probably do one or two of my lectures. What time is it? 7 o'clock. I'll probably do one or two of my lectures that I have tomorrow, just so I could get ahead of the curve a little bit, and then continue to prep for the week. Usually I don't like my weekends to be this full of work, but because it was kind of the Labor Day, I had to do a lot of work on Saturday. I had to do not a lot, but I usually like to take like a day off or something like that, or do like really light work. But I was doing a lot of work yesterday and a lot of work today. So it's just the belly of the beast. You sometimes have to do a lot, sometimes you have to do a little. But I just pretty much, yeah, I just took the sacrifice so I can get back on track for this week, and hopefully next Saturday I'll be able to take a day off. All right. If there's no last questions, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much. Everybody that watched, everybody that commented, everybody that had a question. I hope I was able to answer you guys' questions. I hope I was able to give you guys a little bit of insight, a little bit of a study break if you were watching this during your study break, or if you're watching this during your Sunday. Thank you for tuning in. You ever think about quitting? Never. I worked way too hard to quit now. I worked way too hard to quit now. It is hard. It is hard though. You think about it kind of goes back to King Zeph's question. He asked me before, what's the impact that you want to leave on medicine? What's the impact you want to have? What are you striving for? Those are things that keep you going. You think about the impact, you think about what you're striving for, what your future looks like. I have motivation in my office right here. Study like your patients are depending on it. Your patients' lives are depending on it. And my Mamba mentality poster. So those things keep me going. It's important to understand why you're doing it and your mission, because when things get hard, it's very easy to feel like quitting. So that goes for undergrad, that goes for pre-med, medical school, just life in general. All right. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Till next time, I'm not 100% sure when I'll be streaming again, but the next time I do, be on the lookout. Thank you again for coming through, and enjoy the rest of your Sundays, everyone. Oh, last question. He said, when you become a doctor, are you still going to post? I hope so. We'll see. We'll see. That's going to be a long time from now. So we'll have to see what YouTube is looking like at that time, what my ventures are looking like at that time. Hopefully at that time, if I'm a doctor, maybe I'll have a production team. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll have an editor. Maybe I'll still be on YouTube. Maybe another platform will come out. Maybe I'll create another platform for doctors. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. But till then, we're just grinding, man. All right, guys. Thank you again.